What's going on, guys? On this episode of Talking Stories with TSM, we're going to talk about some of the differences between a production that happens on location and in the studio. So the main difference, and the most obvious difference, is when you do a production on location, you have to bring everything with you. Camera gear, G&E trailer, crew. You got to make sure you bring everything to that location. And once you're there, you work through your shot list, power distribution, and scheduling. These are things that typically happen in pre-production, but there are times where you kind of go to location blind. That's obviously not what you want to do, but if you do, you want to make sure you manage to look through the location, make sure you know that you have power in the appropriate places for your interviews, for your lighting. You need to make sure that hair and makeup or crafty is out of the way of where production is going to take place. You also need to make sure that your sound mixer can get clean audio. Make sure that you're not next to, or if you can avoid it, not next to a really busy road where you're going to hear cars honking, semis or planes going through. Now, when you have a production in studio, such as our TSM studio, you have a controllable atmosphere between soundproofing, lighting control, and it's just not a place of business that's going to get phone calls, people walking through. You can control everything that occurs. With what we have here, we have a grid, we have soundproofing along the walls, and we have a full 800 square foot open space that's customizable. So there's definitely pros and cons. Not that one is better than the other. You just have to be able to look at what is best for that specific production. And if you have a studio space, then that should be the first place that you plan to have production. After you ask one or two questions to the client and you go through the pre-production process, you very well could move to a on-set location, and that's okay. All right, guys, that was this episode of Talking Stories with TSM.